Hey everybody, sorry I couldn't be with you today. In this return to class after last week's online class, there's a couple things that I want to go over today to prepare you for Wednesday. This is a big week, week three. This is where we're going to be spending time talking about the first portfolio assignment and also sort of having a larger center discussion on academic writing as we move into this first portfolio. We'll be talking about a lot of the things that are really important to understand and know about academic writing, how it can differ from other types of writing that you've done in high school or maybe some other high school classes, high school English, high school classes, and maybe other writing that you've done outside of school as well. First and foremost, I want to kind of go over this concept of intellectual space. And that's one thing that I'll come back to on Wednesday as well when we're back in the classroom. But I want to introduce you to this concept of intellectual space. And this intellectual space is the place in which we inhabit from the moment that we're assigned a writing task, whether that be something that we're doing for school or for work or some other place, some other reason. And when we're given that task all the way to the point in which we finish up that final draft, that final version, whatever that happens to look like, the intellectual space that we inhabit is everything in between, whether that be the sort of invention writing that we do, or sometimes you may know it as pre-writing, or developing drafts, doing revisions, conferencing, working with the writing center, or working with an audience early on to kind of get some feedback on that piece of writing you're doing. All of this takes place in that intellectual space, and there's a certain process that we go through, a mental process, emotional process. All of this sort of defines what our intellectual space is, and this is different for everybody. It's very different. It all depends on who you are as a writer, who you are as a person, how you approach the work that you do. And when we come back to class on Wednesday, we'll talk about some of those different ideas, ways in which we can define our intellectual space. Moving to a more defined idea within that intellectual space when it comes to academic writing is thinking about the critical framework. And again, the critical framework is something that we'll spend a little bit more time on Wednesday talking about. But to give you an idea, the critical framework is literally a frame. It's the shape of a square. You break it down into 4 sections, and each of those sections defines a certain quality or a certain piece of whatever project you're working on, writing project or creating some kind of text, whether that text be written or visual or whatever it happens to be. And that critical framework helps us to define the purpose for that piece of writing, who the audience is, what our role is as the writer, and it helps to define the qualities of the medium or the genre, what we're creating, and how that helps to define what that final product is going to look like. Moving forward with this first portfolio throughout the week, we're in Module 3 right now, and with the viewing of this video, Module 3 will be open, and you'll be able to take a look at that. A portion of Module 3 is focused on the assignment sheet for the first portfolio. I'll go over that a little bit right now. And it's also going to include a topic proposal. The topic proposal right now, I have that scheduled to be due tomorrow night on Tuesday. I'm going to move that to Wednesday so we have some time face-to-face in class to talk about that before you send me your topic proposal. And also a little bit of time to do some Q&A in class about the assignment sheet. First and foremost, this portfolio assignment sheet, the essay you're going to create for this portfolio is going to be centered on a relationship analysis. This chapter that we're looking at in the textbook right now, the chapter that I had you read for this week, is the relationship analysis chapter. And the essay that you create for that will be a relationship analysis. And analysis is a type of academic writing that can come from many different directions. We'll be looking at a rhetorical analysis, lots of different types of analyses that you can do, but this relationship analysis is going to specifically look at two things. It can be two objects, it can be two people. It can be a person and an object. A lot of different ways, a lot of different varieties of thinking about and writing about this relationship analysis. For this portfolio, I'm going to be asking you to work on relationship analysis between humans, sort of as a collective, but also individually as well. So your own personal feelings and ideas. The relationship that we have with some kind of art form. In the assignment sheet, you'll see I have defined the 9 established art forms, starting with architecture and working all the way down to comic strips. It includes lots of different types of art that we are familiar with: painting, music, dance, television, film, all 9 of those listed out there. These are the 9 recognized and established art forms. And the question that I'm proposing for you to answer in this assignment is, with all the other types of art that we have, with all the other ways in which we as humans express ourselves creatively, what do you feel should be the 10th art form? If there were to be a 10th one added to that list, what do you think it should be? We're going to be exploring that idea based on not only your interests and your knowledge of art and your understanding of the different types of ways in which we express ourselves creatively, thinking more deeply about how we define the relationship that humans have with art in general. Thinking about those 9 established art forms. How do we define our relationship with those established art forms? How can you use that as evidence to back up the argument that you're going to create in this essay for what you feel should be the 10th art form? Essays are always going to be arguments. You're going to have a thesis statement that will sort of establish this clear argument in a thesis statement. So in a way, answering that question that I'm proposing to you and making a claim for what you feel should be the 10th art. And then in the essay, you will work to support that in a variety of ways. And I'll spend some time on Wednesday going over the assignment sheet in a little more detail to explain the ways in which I want you to do that. The final draft of this essay will come within a couple weeks, but the first thing that we're going to do, because we're working within our intellectual space, the first thing we're going to be doing is some invention writing. We will start that on Wednesday. This invention writing, or as I said before, pre-writing, a lot of you may understand that term as pre-writing. The textbook has sort of redefined it, and I like the idea of calling it invention writing because we're inventing these ideas. We're coming up with these ideas. It really isn't something that happens before the real writing happens. That's what pre-writing tends to insinuate. So I like to go with that term, invention writing. We're going to be working through some of those ideas, start generating what will become the evidence for your essay, thinking more deeply about what you feel should be the 10th art form. Module 3 clearly lays out how I'm going to have you work through this first draft. It's fairly prescriptive because this is the first essay you're creating, but this isn't something you have to worry about yet. This isn't going to be due until the end of the week, and then we'll work through some conferencing where we'll have a chance to meet one-on-one, online, of course, and talk about your draft. So, first step, the invention work. Then the next step will be the topic proposal. And again, I'm going to move that to Wednesday, due on Wednesday at the end of the day rather than Tuesday. And then after that will come the draft of the paper. So for Wednesday's class, the only thing I want you to do is to make sure that you do have the reading assignment completed for Chapter 3 in the relationship analysis chapter. Take a look at the assignment sheet. There is a link to the assignment sheet included within, well, two places. The Module 3 page that I have available for you now will have a link to the assignment sheet. And also, if you click on modules on the left-hand side, it will bring up the text list of all the modules that are open right now. One of those is called Portfolio 1 Files, and you'll find the assignment sheet in there as well. So I will plan to see you all on Wednesday. Please make sure that you email me with any questions that you have prior to that. If you can't find the assignment sheet, or if you have some questions about preparing for Wednesday, please send me an email. Otherwise, I will see you all in class on Wednesday. See you then.